there, welcome to my channel. Look what I got today. If you're new to my channel, I do food reviews most of the time in the car. I do a lot of food reviews, so you might want to subscribe because it doesn't cost you anything. And below the video will be a link to my Patreon where you'll get all kinds of bonus content like unreleased footage that is early that no one else gets to see for like way earlier than most. And you also get bonus footage. I just released my vacation in Mexico on my Patreon. That was only for my higher tier viewers. Still working on that, and I accept, like, you know, people tell me you should do this or whatever, you know, like ideas or whatever. So, but yeah, I'm getting it going, and I appreciate the people that have followed me for so long because they're the ones who gave me that idea. So thank you so much. So this is what it looks like. It's the Impossible Meatballs made from plants, and it's home style. And it smells like meatballs, like exactly. It has a little tinge of Indian food though, not a lot, but I'm getting very little. Okay, so on the ingredients, it recommends to put it in the oven, stovetop and sauce, like I guess a marinara. You can also microwave it. And so what I did was I put it in the microwave to thaw it to where it was just barely warm, just so the inside wouldn't be frozen. And then I stuck it in the air fryer on 400, and I didn't even preheat the air fryer. I just threw it in there because I wanted to do it quick. And we'll see how that turns out that way. I'm not going to recommend that yet because it might not turn out good, but so far it looks really good. Can you see that? Okay, that smells like meatballs, like Italian meatballs, like pork beef meatballs. Really juicy. Okay. I just reviewed a pork breakfast item, and it scared me because it tasted so much like pork. It wasn't from this company or Beyond. I'll try to leave a link below the video. This literally tastes like beef and pork mixed. Literally. Wow. It has a really good umami taste. It's not too salty. I've always liked Impossible Burger better than Beyond. But this is even better than Impossible Burger. It smells and tastes exactly like I'm eating beef and pork mix. And it is seasoned really, really well. This tastes like quality. You know how some companies, like when they come out with a food, they like come out with quality first, and as it sells, people start buying and buying and buying. They kind of like cut back, and the quality goes down. Like Garden Burger brand, for example. I used to get Garden Burger, and it was made by, I guess, Garden Burger. I don't know what the name of the company. I guess it was Garden Burger, and the quality was really, really good. But then they got bought out, and I don't know if it Post or Kellogg's. I think Kellogg's bought them out. But one of the big boys, big companies like Kellogg's, Post, you know, Nestle, whatever, the big companies, they bought them out, and the quality went down. So this, it tastes like a company that is just literally just came into the market and is doing everything they can to win the people over, and is putting quality. And on that note, I like the Impossible Burger, and the quality is there, but this is like that, but it seems like they put more quality into it. But I just read something that's kind of scary, and well, actually I kind of knew this. This is bioengineered, but obviously it is because they use, I think they use heme. which is how they made the Impossible Burger, right? But the ingredients are water. The first ingredient is water, soy protein concentrate, sunflower oil, coconut oil, 2% or less of dried garlic, dried onion, methylcellulose, which I believe is like a fiber, a binder, or both, soy protein isolate, natural flavors, yeast extract, spice, wheat flour, cultured dextrose, salt, potato protein, food starch, modified soy, lehemoglobin, I think that's the heme, hydrogenized soy protein, citrus acid, vitamins. Meatballs are set in soybean oil. Yeah, it's really good. I could definitely see this could trick a meat eater. But if you haven't had pork or beef in a long time, you might get freaked out on this. Oh, it is really, I can literally taste not just beef but pork, like pork. I can't believe this seasoning is seasoned so well. Like, I wouldn't change anything about the seasoning. Like, it's perfect. Like, I wouldn't, because I can be pretty picky on this channel and be like, well, it's really good, but to be honest with you, they could do this, this. No. Like, leave it alone. This would be so, look at, it's so juicy. I don't know if you can see that. I like the way it's like kind of crispy on the outside or whatever, like toasted or whatever. This would be so good in like a marinara. Speaking of marinara, I just reviewed not too long ago an Italian dish made with fake meat, bolognese. I went back and got more and more from the store. And it's not made from Impossible Beyond Meat. I'm thinking about putting a couple of these in that dish next time I make it. I'm not making too much meat though. Bolognese with meatballs. I can't get over this. What am I going to give this? A 10. Because if you're trying to eat a meatball that tastes like pork and beef mixed with well seasoned, that's what it tastes like. And it's like a miracle. Like, I can't believe, like, the Impossible Burger was like extraordinary, revolutionary. Who would think they could be better than that? And it's fully cooked. Just how convenient can you get, you know? And I don't know. Some people try to stay away from beef. And some people try to get from this or whatever. But beef, chicken, and pork. What's, like, to me, if there's one meat that people should definitely stay away from, or at least cut down on, pork. Hello? So if you're not plant-based and you just want to cut back, especially on pork, which is so, like, it is a very good alternative. I don't remember how much I paid, though. But it has, like, an amazing umami flavor. So I'm giving this 10 out of 10. Should I go into story time? What time is it? Let's see. I'm going to go into story time. Why not? If you stayed this long. Because some people actually like my story time. Some people don't. But if you do, then thanks for staying. Before I forget anything, though, the Patreon link will the Patreon link will be below the video. And that's why I have lots of bonus content. Even if you don't want to subscribe to my Patreon, you might want to check it out just to see what's offered there. And so, yeah, and then I might start getting merchandise. I just don't know yet. I have all these, like, things going on. Anyway, so let's get to story time. But I've said it once, I've said it a million times. All you do is comment, and that's the only way you can, like, help me out. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? This happens all the time on my videos. Support me by just commenting. That alone is, like, means so much to me. So, let's get into story time. So, obviously, I'm pretty feminine. I haven't talked about my sexuality, but that's on another video. And it might surprise you, or maybe it won't. We don't know. And maybe I alluded to it But let me tell you what happened. I was really, really feminine back in the day. Like, the further you go back, the younger I was, the more feminine I was. Like, 7 years ago, I was more feminine. 20 years ago, I was more feminine. 17 years ago, I was even more feminine. So I kind of like man lead up. So if you think I'm feminine now, you ain't seen nothing yet, okay? So I used to go to my friend's house. And I had a car, she didn't. And I used to pick her up, and we used to go to the clubs. We used to go to the military clubs, and we used to go to the big, because we were by a military base. At the time, we were by a military base. I've moved a lot since then. But we used to go to the military base, and we had all kinds of fun. And so I picked her up that day, and I can't remember if we were going to a rave or a club or the military base club or whatever. But, and I never wore female attire. Not that it should matter, but I didn't have to. Like, I was just naturally feminine. And I say that because I was always been mistaken for a woman. I know it sounds crazy. I could tell you stories. I could spend the next 20 hours to tell you stories on that. Okay? So, but I'm just going to try just one story. So, I go to my friend's house, and I used to have like hair. Like, I would have the Caesar cut in the front, but then I would like poof it up here, so it'd be higher here, and then come down here, and then make my little wisps and stuff before I got bald, and I just let myself go. So, but that's all I did. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't wear women's clothing, nothing else. And, hairstyles can be very unisex anyway, right? Supposedly Jesus had long hair. Hello. So, and I actually had short hair. I just teased it up a little bit. But that was it. That was all I did. So, her mom's sitting there, and she has a whole bunch of guys over. Her mom, all her friends were always guys. Like, I would go over there, and there'd be, like, all guys on the table. And if I saw one female, I'm like, whoa, you got a female friend? She just had more guy friends. And so, I remember Amanda was taking forever, as usual, to get ready. And, so I'm sitting there waiting. And, so, like, her mother's like, have a seat, have a seat. One of the guys, he's like, yeah, come have a seat. And I sat next to him. And I'm like minding my own business. I'm not flirting. I'm not doing nothing. I'm like, how y'all doing? I said, y'all enjoy, you're enjoying your night, whatever. Just trying to be nice, but not overly nice, like, flirtatious or whatever. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm trying to be like to myself, like I'm not trying to like hang over on someone or whatever. And they're all guys. There's no women. It's the only woman there is my friend Amanda. Her mother is on the table. And then I guess you could say me too, because I'm so much like a woman, people say, right? So I'm just sitting there, and he was like, why don't you sit closer? I'm like, no, I'm okay. And he's like, come on, darling. Because I live in Texas. He's like, come on, darling. And I'm like, oh, shit. And there's more to it in the story. So he literally pulls, like, he's a big guy too. And he like, I don't know how he did it, but he pulls my stool. It's like a chair stool. Or combination. I was thinking more like a stool. Maybe it was like a chair stool. I don't know. But he pulls me over to him, like really close. I mean, like his arm is like right there. And I'm like, oh, God. He's like, what's the matter, darling? You shy? And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm like looking at everyone else. I'm looking at his mother, and she's like, oh, my goodness. Like, does he think this guy is a girl? And the guys in the table, like, are looking at him and, like, looking at me like, is this a girl or a guy? Like, squinting their eyes. I'm like, the crazy thing is, like, I have hairy arms, right? I used to have more, like, well, even if it's not, you can tell I have hairy arms. I have hairy legs, okay? And at that time in my life, I had, like, really hairy legs. I've shaved and waxed and stuff because, like, my hair will grow out, like, it will be, like, my dad is, like, extremely hairy, okay? So, like, if I never did any of that, you wouldn't even see skin. You would just see hair. So my legs and that arms at that night were like really hairy. And I'm like looking at my hair, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like doing like this, like trying to, because I don't want to say, dude, I'm a dude, maybe get beat up. I'm trying to like, hint at, it's like you're flirting with a guy. And it's not like he was gay or whatever. He had drunk a little bit though. But he wasn't drunk. Well, he might have been drunk. I don't know. But I know he had drunken at least a little bit, right? You could tell that he was at least tipsy. And some of the other guys, I guess they must have drunk something too, because they were kind of like, like going like this. and looking at him and stuff. In other words, like, you know, you like him, and I'm like, oh God, like, I don't want to get beat up tonight. And then he was just like, he whispered in my ear, he's like, you want to go in the backyard? I'm like, no, I don't want to go in the backyard. For what? Because even if he wanted to do something, and even if I wanted to do something, if he found out that I had something in between my legs that he doesn't like, I'm going to get beat up. Hello? So I was like scared, because he was one of those kinds of guys, like, he was very aggressive. Well, he don't want to take no for an answer. I could just sense it about him. I mean, look at how aggressive he was pulling my chair over, right? And I'm like, no, I was like, Amanda, I was like, we got to get going soon. He's like, why are you in a rush? Why are you in a rush? And then my friend Amanda, you know, she was like, she gets really long hair, and she's like, you know, she's like, I'm still almost doing my hair, whatever. I was like, Amanda, let's go. And then he was like, he said something to me like, darling, whatever. And Amanda, like, my friend, she was like, she realized, like, oh no, this guy likes my friend. Not again, because this happened, these situations like this happened a lot, right? And I have 2 friends that are female that witnessed it a lot of times. A lot. Like, too many times, right? And so, I was like, Amanda, let's go, right, bro. And then Amanda's mom said something to her, and they started laughing. And then she was like, yeah, why don't you just stay a little bit longer? And I'm looking at her mom like, we gotta go. And then, one of the guys whispered something in Amanda's mom's ear, my friend's mom's ear, and then she whispered something back. And he was like, oh, like that. And I'm like, what did they say? So anyway, eventually I get away from the situation. And when I do, like, I remember leaving and him trying to, like, grab on me, like, put his arms around me and stuff. I don't know if he wanted to kiss me or whatever, but I'm like, dude, I was like, please, okay? Because I don't want to get beat up. Because I don't think he knows what he's dealing with, and it's not a woman. Okay. So we leave, we do our thing, we go to the club or whatever, and then Amanda talked to her mother, and she's told the guy, like, I don't know if it was the next day or 3 days or whatever, she was like, you know, because he had asked about me, now I remember, he had asked about me, he's like, I want to meet that girl again. She was so shy and stuff, and maybe he's a guy that likes shy girls or something, you know. And Amanda's mom was like, that's a dude. And he's like, no, that wasn't a dude. Instead of saying, yeah, kind of, maybe it was. He was like, what are you talking about? Like, he was like, why would you disrespect her like that? And she was like, he had hairy legs and hairy arms. He was even like doing like this to like hit you. He was trying to get away from you. He goes, no, she's just shy. And I was like, it's not a she. So then I guess he talked to his buddies, and his buddies told him, they're like, yeah, that was a dude. And after that, like, I don't know what happened. I just was, like, scared to go over to Amanda's mom's house for a while, because what if he showed up again, and, you know, especially on the weekend, and I'm picking her daughter up to go out clubbing, and then he's there again, you know? So, yeah, I didn't want to go to Amanda's. I would just, like, wait in the car and listen to my techno, because I had a mini disc player, and it had a lot of cool songs on it. A lot of people don't know about mini disc, but I had a mini disc. Because I would borrow CDs from different people and tapes and stuff, and I would put them on blank mini discs. So I had like an awesome techno collection. But yeah, that just happened. And then how much time we got? Oh, I'm talking a lot. I don't know if I should tell you the other stories. I guess you could stay. But it was just different things. Like one time we were at the military, and I was sitting there by myself, and basically the same thing happened. But it was 2 guys, and they're like, because they liked my friend. Amanda was very pretty. Because I remember when I first met Amanda, I kid you not, I was in school, in art class, and she came in, and she was like, hi, you know, she did her hair like that, because she had really long hair, you know, and she's like, I'm Amanda, I'm from California, blah, 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 and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. Not like that, but I was like, she's pretty small, she's from California, and I live in a small town in Texas. I'm like, oh my God, California, oh my, she's so pretty, she's like a model, you know. And then she goes, where should I sit? And all the guys, you're like, you can sit with me, you can sit with me. And I like looked at her, and I kind of like, I don't know, I guess you could detect, you know, that I was feminine or whatever. And I was like, you can sit with me. And she goes, and I guess she was like looking at this, like, why would I sit by these guys? They're just gonna like be macking on me or whatever you want to call it, right? And so she sat next to me. I was like, I love your hair. And she goes, thank you. I said, the Caruso hair setter. And right away she was like, she went like that. She was like, how did you know? I was like, girl, I know. That you did that with the Caruso hair setter. And she was like, yeah. So, who knows that? I don't even have long hair. I never even used a Caruso hair setter. It was the bounce in her hair. And I was right. It was a Caruso hair setter. And she was like, how? No one, not even other female, can look at my hair and tell me that that was set with Caruso hair setter. She was like, how do you know this? I was like, she goes, she could put two and two together and realize, like, yeah. Realize what, though? That's for you to figure out. So it happened quite often. I remember one time I was with my friend Karen and we went to a club. It was just a regular, club, dance club, and it was for Halloween. And she goes, why don't you dress up like a girl? So I dressed up like a girl, and I kind of was sloppy, and because I didn't want them to think I'm a woman and then get beat up. It's like for Halloween, a lot of times guys go out dress up like women, but then they have a hairy chest, and they're like, oh, I can tell you're a dude, but they don't look like a woman, like real feminine. So, I mean, I look better than the most guys that dress up that way. I mean, obviously I shaved, but I kind of wanted to not shave my arms and have a little bit of something masculine. And so we go to the club, and the reason why I dressed up too is because they had a prize. And it was, what is the name of that? There was a movie going on. Oh, it'll come to me. This was a long time ago. There was a popular movie out there, and I think the guy had white makeup on. He dressed in dark colors, all black, and had dark hair. And everybody was dressed up like that. Not everybody, but a lot. Was it The Crow or something? I don't know. This was probably back in anywhere between 95 to 98, whatever movie was popular then. Maybe you can leave a comment below and let me know. So, and so I'm in there, and this guy was macking on me like crazy. He was like, darling, call me darling too. He's like, darling, you want to dance? I'm like, no, I'm okay. He's like, you don't like country music? Because he was really country, right? Really country. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm more into techno and stuff. And he was like, okay. Next thing I know, a song comes on that's not country, and he is all over me. I'm like, I don't want to dance with you. He's like, you don't like me, right? He basically said I was being a bit, what, the B word, right? I'm like, I just don't feel like I want to tell him so bad that I'm a woman. So finally I told him, I was like, dude, I'm a woman. I'm sorry. I didn't. Am I? If you only knew, if you watched this happened so many times in my life. Sometimes I wonder, not sometimes, I've wondered my whole life that, actually. But that's a whole other story. But I was like, dude, I'm a guy. I'm not a woman. He didn't believe me. He literally would not believe me. And my friend Karen was like, dude, my friend is a dude. Okay? Hairy arms and legs. And he was like, I think he said something, are you a European girl or something? I guess the whole stereotypical that some Europeans don't shave or whatever, women. Not that I'm going there. I'm not racist or prejudiced. I'm just saying that's what he said, okay? So please don't make any hate comments because I'm part European myself. But I was like, it really has no difference if I'm part German. I was like, I'm a guy. I was like, I have hairy arms and legs. I was like, he would not believe me. He literally would not believe me. He would not believe my friend. No matter what we said, he would not leave me alone. He insisted that I dance with him. He insisted that he would buy me drinks. I'm like, I'm not. He's like, what do you want? I was like, I'm not drinking. I was like, because I got to go home that night. Because I actually drove my friend up there in my car, right? So I wanted to stay later because I'm thinking, well, if these people think I'm a woman, I'm definitely going to win that prize. And I think the prize was it wasn't $50 or $100. It was I think it was $500 or $1,000. It was a lot of money. And so I told my friend, I was like, we got to stay. She wanted to go home. She goes, just take me home. I was like, can we just stay a little bit longer? She goes, no, I want to go home. I said, I'll split half the prize with you. She goes, I want to go home. So I was like, man, I'm losing money. So we go home. The club next door to it, there was another time that we went out. Me and the same girl, Karen. I was gonna say Amanda. And there's a club right next to it, but it's more like a bar, like small dance club. This club I just told you about is like, it's pretty big. So, and they played all kinds of music. They played techno and rock and country and just whatever. And so there was another time that we went out. I don't know if it was before or after. I think it was later on, after, like a year later or 8 months later. There was a club next to it, and we had went in. Again, this time I'm not dressed up like a woman. Like, how many times have I dressed up like in female attire? Twice that I can remember, maybe 3 times. The club, one time in school, when it was copperettes dressed like football players, and football players dressed like copperettes or whatever, and they wanted really to participate. And I wasn't even dressed up all day. I was only dressed up for a little bit, because that's another story. They thought I was a new girl in school. They literally thought that I was literally. They're like, "Oh, you new to our school?" I'm like, "Really?" So anyway, we go to this bar mini club next door to the big club. I'm just dressed like normal, like I am now, right? We go in there, and this guy is like looking at me, and I'm not stupid. I know when someone likes me. He's like looking at me like, like looking at me and smiling and stuff. I'm like, not again. I kind of like the attention, but I don't want to get beat up. These are not gay clubs that we're going to. And I'm not trying to get beat up by someone that's bi-curious and they realize all of a sudden that they hate themselves because they can't accept themselves, and they want to take it out on me and beat me up. Okay? Because when it comes to stuff like that, psychology of people, I know that stuff way too well because I've had experienced it. You've no idea the stuff that's happened to me in my life. So, I'm like, let's just go. I was like, I don't feel comfortable. So, she wants to stay. Before she went, remember earlier? She goes, I want to stay. I goes, well, I want to go. She goes, well, I think he likes you. I was like, yeah, I know that. Let's just go. She goes, I forgot what exactly happened, but the next thing I know is I came to the car and I waited, and then he came out, and I'm like, oh God. And she wouldn't come out of the club, like she still was in there. I was like, come on, let's go, right? And he's like, and he doesn't come to the car. He just kind of stands there. I think he was smoking a cigarette or something. I don't know. I'm like, oh my God. I have to go back in that club, and he's right there. So, he finally goes back in the club. And then I go back in the club, and then I was like, come on, let's go. So as we leave, he like to guys to get my attention, like, hey, whatever. And I'm like, we gotta go. And then I get in the car, and he's like right there. And he's like motioning me to roll the window down, whatever. I was like, what? And he goes, honey or sweetheart or whatever, why don't you stay, or why don't you come back in the club? I know your friend wants it, whatever. And I'm like looking at my friend. I'm like, don't say anything. Like, don't say we want to. I'm like, let's go. But I have so many stories to tell you on how I was mistaken. There was another time, it was in a military club, and there was 2 guys that was like, they liked my friend, Amanda. And, but that one was interesting because the one guy liked me and the other guy was like, is that a boy or a girl? Because it was funny because they liked my friend and she got up to go get a drink or talk to another guy. I don't know. I'm just sitting there like, I'm not flirting. I'm just minding my own business. I'm just sitting there, like listening to music, whatever. And a guy comes up to me, and he was like, your friend's kind of cute. I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, but it looks like she's talking to someone else or whatever. I was like, yeah, okay. And he was like, so what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, not again. And his friend comes down a set, and he's like looking at me, and he whispers something in his ear. And I can read body language. Obviously, the first guy thinks I'm a woman, and the other guy's thinking, well, I don't know if that's a woman or a guy. So he whispers something in the guy's ear, and he's like, nah, don't, that's a female. I heard him say, that's a female. And I'm like, not again. So, he starts talking to me, and like, I'm talking to him, but I'm not like leading him on either. But I don't want to be rude, and maybe, whatever. So his friend's like, are you, or are you? And the first guy, the one that likes me, he's like, how can you say that about her? I'm like, oh my God, these guys stupid. No makeup on, and I'm wearing stereotypical men's clothing, like a t-shirt and jeans. And it's not stereotypical a woman. There's no glitter. There's like, stereotypical. If you looked at my clothes, you'd be like, that person is wearing male clothes. I can't help that I have a feminine face or feminine characteristics that naturally come out. So, next thing I know, they're asking me to come back to the military barracks. And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you? And I'm like, and then my friend comes over, and they're like, oh, here's your friend. And I tell her what's going on. And she was like, my friend is not what you think he is. That's like a dude. And I'm like, oh, God, I hope they don't beat me up. I hope they don't beat me up. Because they might be like, what the? Because I was like entertaining them. Even though I wasn't leading them on, I was just talking to them. And you know how some people can be, right? So I was like, oh, my God. And they're like, you're a dude? And I'm like, yeah. Like, am I supposed to be, like, feel bad about that? Like, you messed up, not me. I did not flirt with you. As a matter of fact, I was kind of rude to you. Like, I was nice to you, but I wasn't nice to you. Like, I didn't say, yeah, buy me a drink, sweetheart, and, none of that stuff. So, like, the joke's on you. And if you had too much to drink, that's your fault. Next thing I know, he talks to his friend. And he was like, well, I've never been with, I'm like, with what? A guy? Like, I didn't say that, but he's like, I've never been with, and I don't think if he said a gay person or dude or a feminine dude, he couldn't say drag queen because I wasn't dressed in drag. But he said, I think he said just that. He's like, I never been with, and then he didn't say nothing. He's like, but you want to go back to our place? I'm like, no, I don't. Then he gives me his phone number. He's like, well, here's my number in case you ever want to get together. I'm like, huh? So, what's my story in all this? A lot. Evidently, I don't fit the stereotype of what it is to be a man or a woman. And no one should have to. Just be yourself. That's number one. And number two, it just goes to show how curious a lot of people are, and they're not fully one way or the other. Because look at that. I mean, my friend's telling him, like, that's a dude. And they're like, ugh. And then they think about it, and they're like, we still want to go to my place? And then here's my phone number. Come on now. Oh, I could tell you stories going to the raves and the clubs. Some interesting stuff that's happened to me. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're here for the reviews, awesome. But if you're for story time, that's also awesome, because I got so many stories. And like I said before on this channel, like, I don't have to make any of this up. This is real stuff that's happened to me. Because the other day I was saying how I got locked into a subway. I almost drowned in Mexico. But yeah. Until next time. Thank you for staying. Thank you for the support. And I hope you have an awesome day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right. Have a good day.